Newark, New Jersey is the largest city in the state of New Jersey. Though it has always been dwarfed in size by nearby New York City, the city has had a long and storied history, from its prosperous period to its decline to its mild rebound. This is what happened to Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey is one of the oldest settled areas in the eastern U.S. Beginning in the 1660s, it would go from a colony to a township to finally being established as a city in 1836. Throughout the 1800s, the city would become a manufacturing center, with leather becoming a central industry in the city. It would be the nation's #1 supplier of it for much of this period. With the expansion of canals and railroads in the eastern U.S. during this era, the city only grew and prospered more, with other industries such as metals and celluloids. The production of these materials, combined with Newark's location as a port city, helped its population balloon from just over 19% to as high as 85% in each decade from 1850 to 1920. The city also became an early insurance industry hub, with longtime companies such as Prudential and Mutual Benefit being founded there. Newark would also have a very active downtown, famous for its nightlife and department stores. The city's population would peak in the late 40s though, and would fall after reaching the 440,000s. The city had already seen some ups and downs in population in the previous 20 years before 1950, as suburbanization of the city began early, and people were starting to leave the city noticeably as early as the 1930s. Even though by the late 30s and into the early 40s, the city was coming out of the Great Depression, it would cut its budget by over 20%, while also raising taxes. Suburbanizing was a tempting opportunity for the working class after World War II, given the higher taxes and subpar housing within the city, and it would only be exacerbated in the years to come. Suburbanization in and of itself especially was becoming a national trend in the post-war era. On top of this, government redlining and the rise of freeways only made things worse. Loans were not fairly distributed, and neighborhoods were forever changed. The opportunity for people to live further from Newark while still working there became only more expanded. And this was in addition to the overall post-war decline in U.S. manufacturing. It wouldn't be alone, however Newark's declines would be severe. With Newark losing population and suffering economically, it began to take government handouts to build increased and extensive public housing. The residential tax base changes that came with this newer public housing wouldn't improve the city's situation. Newark would continue to lose population and grow in poverty. It would experience massive white flight and would become a contentious city demographically, as the local government and its residents would become more divided. The situation reached a boiling point in 1967 with the infamous Newark riots, which left 26 dead, many businesses being lost, on top of many participants in the riot being arrested and injured. Though this event was only one part of the decline, it only exacerbated it more, and overall the city would lose close to 175,000 people from the late 40s to 1990. By the 90s, the population finally leveled off. The Newark of old was no more. Even the famous downtown department stores of old were gone by the late 80s. Attempts towards revitalization would finally begin in the late 90s, with the construction of a performing arts center and minor league baseball stadium. Also, in the 90s and 2000s, much of the public housing that would plague the city over the decades was torn down. Even though much change had happened to the city economically, some jobs returned, with companies such as Panasonic establishing their U.S. headquarters there. Crime was also dropping in the 2000s and 2010s, improving the city's situation. With these and many other improvements, the city finally saw a double-digit percentage increase in population in the 2010s, the first double-digit percentage increase in population since the 1910s decade. Though poverty is still a large factor in Newark, the city does have some things going for it. Its port is a part of one of the largest in the U.S., and it's still a major insurance industry city, with companies such as Prudential. It's had notable population growth recently, and tens of thousands of people commute there for work, giving the city a decent tax revenue source. Though Newark has a long history of ups and downs, it has shown signs of improvement. It remains to be seen if it can continue. Thank you for watching.